Brahmana. Vrindayai Tulasi Devyai Priyayai Keshava Secha Vishnu Bhakti Pradidevi Satchavacha Namo Namah. Vrindayai Tulasi Devyai Priyayai Keshava Secha Vishnu Bhakti Pradidevi Satchavacha Namo Namah. Vrindayai Tulasi Devyai Priyayai Keshava Secha Vishnu Bhakti Pradidevi Satchavacha Namo Namah.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. A little bit. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari. Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari. Girivaradari. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tiravanachari. Yamuna Tiravanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari. Thank you. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Stotares Parvikacharyas Divine Grace Abhay Charavinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON Founder Acharya BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Anantakoti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Shri Mathura Dham Ki Jai. Shri Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Shri Tulsi Maharani Ki Jai. Jagannath Swami Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories, all glories, all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Today we're reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam. This is Canto 10, Chapter 60, texts 27 and 28. Paramdra Shrukala Netre Stano Kopahato Sucha Ashlisha Bahuna Rajan Ananya Vishayam Satim Santvayam Santvadya Kripaya Kripanam Prabhu Hasha Pradi Brahmachchitam Atararham Satam Gati Pramrija Shrukale Netre Stano Kopahato Sucha Ashlisha Bahuna Rajan Ananya Vishayam Satim Santvayam Asha Santvadya Kripaya Kripanam Prabhu Hasha Pradi Brahmachitam Atararham Satam Gati Pramrija Shrukale Netre Stano Kopahato Sucha Ashlisha Bahuna Rajan Ananya Vishayam Satim Santvayam Asa Santvadya Kripaya Kripanam Prabhu Hasha Pradi Brahmachitam Atararham Satam Gati Pramrija Shrukale Netre Stana Gopa Dauchucha Ashlisha Bahuna Rajan Ananya Vishayam Satim Santvayamasa Santvadya Kripaya Kripanam Prabhu Asha Pradi Brahmachitam Atam Narham Satam Gati Brahmamirashru Kale Netre Dana Gopahato Sucha Ashlisha Bhuna Rajan Ananya Vishvayam Satim Santvayamasa Santvaya Kripaya Kripanam Prabhu Asha Pradi Brahmachitam Atararham Satam Gati Brahmaja Shru Kale Netre Stana Kopahato Sucha Ashtisha Bahuna Rajan Ananya Vishvayam Satim Sanvayamasha Sanvaya Kripaya Kripanam Prabhu Asha Pradi Brahmachitam Atararam Satam Gatim Brahmaja Shri Kale Netre Tanujo Pahato Sucha Ashtisha Bhuna Rajan Ananya Vishayam Satim Santvayamasa Santvadya Kripaya Kripanam Prabhu Asha Pradi Brahmachitam Adadarhasilmam Natim Pramidya wiping Asru Kale filled with tears Nitre her eyes Stano her breasts Cha and Upahato disarrayed Sucha by her sorrowful tears Aslisha embracing her Bahuna with his arm Rajan O king Parikshit Ananya no other Vishayam whose object of desire Satim chaste Santvayamasa he consoled Santva of ways of consoling Kya the expert knower Kripaya compassionately Kripanam pitiable Prabhu the Supreme Lord Hashya of his joking Pradi by the cleverness Brahmat becoming bewildered Chitam whose mind Atad Arham not deserving that Satam of pure devotees Gati the goal translation wiping her tear-filled eyes and her breasts which were stained by tears of grief The Supreme Lord, the goal of his devotees, embraced his chaste wife, who desired nothing but him, O king. Expert in the art of pacification, Sri Krishna tenderly consoled pitiable Rukmini, whose mind was bewildered by his clever joking and who did not deserve to suffer so. Please repeat, wiping her tear-filled eyes and her breasts, which were stained by tears of grief. The Supreme Lord, the goal of his devotees, embraced his chaste wife, who desired nothing but him. O king, expert in the art of pacification, Sri Krishna tenderly consoled pitiable Rukmini, whose mind was bewildered by his clever joking, and who did not deserve to suffer so. So there's no purport by the servants of Srila Prabhupada. Om Jnanatanamanda Shaginanjana Shalakaya Chakshur Udminitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nivishesha Sunyavari Pashchita Desatarine Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Vir Krishna Das Goswami Niti Namine Namaham Sanikashaya Prabhupada Priyate Sudrida Sudi Nistyambhyam Tashavakyin Radine. I'll read the tikas of the Acharyas, and then we'll talk about this this very moving and touching verse. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he wiped her eye brimming with tears, Asru Kale, and her breasts afflicted with tears of sorrow, Sucha. Jiva Goswami, he, Prabhu, pacified her, endowed with qualities such as chastity to her husband, Sati, because he is the personal shelter of all devotees, Satam Gati. What to speak of being her shelter, since she took shelter of him alone, Ananya Vishayam. The cause of his mercy, Kripaya, was her misery, Kripanam, on thinking he would leave her. The cause of her mercy was his joking. The cause of his joking was her soft nature, Atad Arham. How was she quickly pacified after such intense grief? Krishna was expert at pacification. His expertise is described. He wiped away her tears, which were flowing, Kale, and embraced her. Remembering his expertise at causing grief and pacification, Sukadev says with astonishment, whatever he does at any place is done with ability. Prabhu. Sanatana Goswami writes, her eyes flowed with tears. Hearing this, Parikshit became filled with sorrow. Sukadev comforts him, O king. Or Rajan stands for Arajan. Rukmini was faded in complexion because of pain, because she had no other shelter, Ananya Vishayam, since she was dedicated to her husband, Satim. He used one arm to put her on his lap in alarm. He wiped her eyes with one hand and her breasts with the other. Or it means two arms. He embraced her tightly. He was incapable of pacifying her, Prabhu, because he knew such sweet speech, Santvagya. Her heart was disturbed by worry. He should not have joked with her so seriously, since he was the goal of the devotees, Satam Gati. So this was the result of Krishna's joking. Rukmini was pretty much going to give up her life, ostensibly. So she was fainting, she was crying, she was heaving, she was, couldn't contain herself. She was so upset, like beyond what we've ever probably seen, experienced, saw in a movie. Sometimes we see depictions of people and they're just so, out of their mind with grief. But if, Krishna was withdrawing himself from his beloved, and she's his chaste beloved, full of prem, full of love, dedicated 100% like a laser on Krishna. So him withdrawing that little bit, even in speech, because he was physically still there, was just absolutely too much for her to bear. And Krishna could see that, he sensed it, that he had sort of overstepped the bounds of being reasonable or funny or joking. And I was thinking to the pastime, another pastime, when he withdrew himself from his beloved, which was when he left Srimati Radharani at the rasa dance. And he sort of disappeared. And she's thinking, this is my one and only, here we are side by side. But he left suddenly and was nowhere to be seen. And she was, of course, extremely upset. And in her case, quite a bit angry. There was, the man was there. And, how dare he? But in this case, the soft, submissive, very, very complex personality Rukmini is, just couldn't bear it and seemingly was going to give up her life. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur calls Krishna the transcendental autocrat. So he was able to, obviously he understands Rukmini's mood. He's also, it's a reciprocation. He's sold out to Rukmini, she's sold out to him, like that. But still, he's the transcendental autocrat. He's able to just bring the devotee to that verge of just obliteration or self-obliteration. He's able to bring the devotee to that point and then, sort of reappear, remanifest himself, and engage. So when he engaged Rukmini, it was done so with such a tender and beautiful and thoughtful gestures, because obviously, even though he's a transcendental autocrat, he's also sold out to his devotee, which was reminding me of that verse, which I mentioned the other day in the Sri Shikshastakam, about Krishna, you may handle me roughly by your embrace, or leave me brokenhearted by not being present before me. You are completely free to do everything and anything, but I will still love you unconditionally. And although he's the transcendental autocrat, he has some responsibility for his devotees. He's very, he knows the minds of his devotees, he knows their hearts, he's able to give himself completely until he doesn't. And then at that point, seeing that longing, Krishna wants to see that longing, that chastity. Rukmini here is described as sati, very chaste. And he's longing to see those qualities in the devotee. He wanted to see her in the man mood, like Srimati Radharani, because presumably he was missing that. He's missing those exchanges because those are spicy. They're fun. He can really get her goat. He can really kind of poke and prod and see, and it's fun. There's that exchange, there's that rasa. But here, it wasn't working. And seemingly, from this act of, manifesting four arms, possibly to pick her up, one arm wipe away her tears, the other wipe away all the water on her chest, her breast, there's all this going on to kind of make up, he has to make up, he has to make it right. we experience that, isn't it, in life when we feel like we've maybe unintentionally wronged somebody or upset somebody. You know, the feeling just in us is one of, well, I don't know, me personally, maybe not everybody, but one of great horror. You know, I'm horrified that, oh my gosh, I upset this wonderful person. You know, I upset this Vaishnava unintentionally. You know, if it's intentional, that's another thing. But this was unintentional on the part of Krishna. He was just trying to have fun. You know, Krishna is the supreme trickster. He's always trying to have fun. I was thinking that I experience that sometimes because if I'm there on the altar, either offering arti or particularly dressing. Actually, Sundari and I discussed this a lot. You know, you're there and you're trying to do all these things at once. You're trying to figure out what Krishna wants, and sometimes, even, for instance, like clothing that they may have been wearing for several years, all of a sudden one day just doesn't fit. You know, you're desperately trying to hook that Velcro in the back or whatever, and it's like, what's going on? You know, did Krishna, I guess Krishna gained weight, you know, and so you're desperately, and sometimes you got to pull out a safety pin, and then you start sweating because, you know, this wasn't expected. You know, it wasn't expected having to try to do things, do more things, you know, do extra things. And you know, then there's all the rest. There's the ornamentation, there's the flowers, there's, you know, all of the headdresses, the turban, you know, sometimes you put on Radharani's veil, looks perfect, and you put on one flower, and then the veil comes off, you know. So, you know, all these unexpected, it's tricky. And, you know, you start getting a sort of a prickly sensation, hot sensation on the back of your neck because time's running out and you're timed and you have to make sure everything's perfect. And you know. So there's a little bit, you know, when that's all going on and there's so much stress, then there's some little bit of disassociation. You're not really, you can't really know exactly, well, we don't know what Krishna's thinking anyway, but you can't really know if what you're doing is even, you know, going to be accepted. So you have to disassociate a little bit or it's a freak out, you know. I think that maybe Santosh experienced that the other day. I was discussing that with him, you know. I'm not quite sure how it went that way, and he wasn't either. But Krishna, that's how, you know, I see in everyday life that Krishna kind of is tricky, and he kind of, you know, withdraws a little bit. Sometimes when you dress the deities, everything just goes on magically. You feel like you're doing nothing. They're dressing themselves. And then you step back, you know, before the offering, and you're like, oh, wow, you know. You didn't even realize that this happened, or that was there, or that was there. And that's a kind of a withdrawal, too. Then later, reviewing like photos or just thinking in your mind, especially if something went awry, how could I have better dealt with that? You know, that's why dressing deities is, I'm going to say, the most purifying experience of all. You know, arti, you're there, you're offering arti, you can space out, you can sing along, you know, you can meditate on the parampara. There's so many things, you know, with arti. I mean, it's kind of, I'm not going to say easy because there's moments there too, but you know, it's a lot easier than when you're there and you're trying to put on Krishna's pants, which he's grown out of in the last few months, and the Velcro's popping off, and you're like, what happened? You know, what do I do? So it's a purifying experience, but that withdrawal, you know, that withdrawal sometimes comes, and it's only later when you're really, you know, there's a connection there at the time, but, you know, with our imperfect senses, we can't really get really into that. Not like in this instance when Rukmini, you know, she's 100% focused solely and wholly on Krishna, at all seconds. And for him to withdraw, that must have been absolutely the most painful thing that anyone could possibly experience, honestly. Krishna is going to, Krishna's going to leave. Krishna's going to leave. Sometimes also, I'm sure a lot of pujaris can have this experience of having a nightmare. It's a nightmare. You open up the curtain or you open up the door and Krishna's not there. He's left the altar. And I haven't had that in a while, but I've had it before, and it's, even in a dream, it's quite horrifying to know that Krishna has withdrawn. And Prabhupada, I was thinking about Prabhupada, that time when deities went to see the devotees went to see some deity, I forget where it was, and they were being treated harshly, the devotees were treated harshly, but the deity was there, and they reported to Prabhupada they went to see this deity, and then they also exclaimed to Prabhupada about how they were treated in that temple, wherever that was, somewhere in India. And Prabhupada said, there's no deity there. There's no deity there. He left. If the devotees of the Lord, obviously Krishna says that if my devotees are treated nicely, then I'm pleased with that. But if they're not, then he's very unhappy. He's very unhappy with us, if we're not treating each other, if we're not treating the devotees with the same respect that we would treat the Lord. And that's how actually we foster this love, to wholly and solely focus on Krishna, because Krishna is in the heart of every living entity. And we should always remember that, no matter what. No matter what the conditioning or the covering of someone is, we have to remember that Krishna is in their heart. And treating someone poorly, that's a big strike against one in Krishna's eyes. And he can withdraw, I've seen numerous times here where if there's offenses committed to the devotees, maybe the deities are being taken care of very nicely, but offenses against the devotees are not tolerated, and Krishna actually will remove that devotee out of the midst of the other devotees because of that treatment, And with regard to this, I was also thinking in the Shikshastakam, even Krishna can't understand the love that Chandravali had, the prema, the level of prema. Even he can't understand it, He can't understand it. That's why he appeared as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That's why, because it's incomprehensible, Radharani's love. Radharani's love, Chandravali's love, Chandravali's expansion, Satyabhama, Lakshmi, it's incomprehensible. Krishna can't even understand that level of love. We can't understand that level of love. There's no way. It's beyond our comprehension. It's beyond this world. Prema is, that level of prema, she has the most. That is the most. That's the topmost pinnacle of prema, is Srimati Radharani. She has the most. We can't understand it. We can only see these and hear about, read the scriptures, see these prompts and cues to again and again and again try and act in the proper way. We have to continually try. And sometimes we fail. Sometimes we fail. Sometimes we, accidentally or on purpose offend another devotee. And I'd like to just right now express my gratitude for being in the midst of all of the exalted Vaishnavas here, because as Drista Prabhu eloquently puts it so many times, and it's something that I'm always meditating on. We don't know who anybody is, we have no idea. We have no idea their level of purity. You were saying one day, Purva's a pure devotee. We don't know. I think so too. I think everybody here is a pure devotee, actually. If we're here right now, and 99.7% of the rest of this world is not listening to the Bhagavatam and Krishna Katha and talking about topics of Krishna, and they're talking about so many mundane things, and it's all just a phantasmagoria. Whoever is sitting and submissively hearing and serving Krishna by their own volition, they're pure devotees. I mean, I don't really see how anybody could deny that fact in our world today. So we're aspiring to come to this level of Rukmini. You may crush me by your embrace, or leave me brokenhearted by not being present before me. I mean, that's a hard pill to swallow. Every single day I am overwhelmed with gratitude to be able to continue to serve the devotees, serve Radha Golokananda, serve the Guru, the pure devotee who's in our midst. The Guru, Srila Prabhupada, our Gurudev, that's the transparent via medium for Krishna. And I mean, how blessed are we to have had that opportunity in this puny life, this infinitesimal existence that we have, which doesn't last long. The older I get, the more I'm understanding, I know a lot of the elders have said, and I'm starting to experience that more and more. As you get older, time seems to go faster and faster and faster and faster, Because when you're 10, and you have 10 years, you're 10 years old, and a year is a tenth of your life, right? But if you're 50, a year is 1/50th of your life. It's very little time. Very little time. This time last year, I was in Govardhan, and literally, I can just, in my mind, just float right back there. So easy. It's so easy because it's so fresh. It feels so fresh. And I think, wow, that was. You get memories in your phone. How was that a year ago? It just seems like the other day. Seems like last week. It's so fast, so fast. And there's something really to be said, I'm just with Rukmini and Krishna. Krishna, I always think of that picture of the BBT. If you haven't looked at it, try to look at it today. Maybe I'll put it on the group, Krishna's sitting there and he's just lounging. And he looks so gorgeous. Even before I came to this temple and was just reading books, and that was in one of the books. I forgot what book that's featured in. I would just look at that picture that was actually, I had it framed. That was actually one of the main pictures I would just stare at, because Krishna looks so unbelievably gorgeous in that picture. He's just breathtaking, and for Rukmini, who's standing there, serving him with all of her heart, all of her soul, every, she has no other thought in her mind. I mean, can you imagine? I would love to be in that position, just to have no other thought in my mind except for Krishna and fanning Krishna. By the way, fanning Krishna in the arti is my favorite. I could just fan him forever. It's such a wonderful. But for him to try to, put that thing there, you don't want me, I'm no good. It's just like mind-blowing that, it's kind of cruel, actually. It's a little bit cruel because she's just so innocent and loving and caring and happy, fanning her Lord. And for him to withdraw is just like having your throat cut, Can imagine. Feels like, And he's leaving her brokenhearted for that split second. Then he recovers her, and so gently and sweetly and lovingly. So he'll always be there for his devotees if we're 100% fixed. He'll always be there, no matter how rough things get or how we think he's left or is leaving us brokenhearted. As long as we're still thinking, even if we're just thinking, even if we're paralyzed and we're thinking, smaranam, then he'll be there. He'll be there. Just like we were discussing the other night at dinner, at the time of death, people who have one little remembrance of Krishna, even if they go away from Krishna consciousness for years and they're into their own stuff, somehow or other Krishna arranges to put somebody in their midst to help them, remind them of Krishna. It's just astonishing. And, it's actually very relieving for us as bhakti yoga practitioners to know that Krishna is always going to be there. Once we've sold out to Krishna, once we've surrendered, once we've given ourselves wholly and solely to Krishna, he'll always be there for us. Haribo.
I don't know who is a pure devotee, right? But after this class, I know who is a pure devotee.
Jai Radha Goloka Nanda ki jai. Yeah.
Adi Purusham Kamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Kamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Kamaham Bhajami Samasitam Buddha Sundarangam Kandar Agom Vikamaniya Vishesha Shobha Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Jami Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Andani Yasa Sakalen Priya Priti Manti Vasyan Dipan Kayanti Jiram Naganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadhu Jala Vigrahasya Govindam Adi Purusham Amaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Namaham 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 Bhajami Govindam.
Hey Jaya Jaya Madhava Radhe Jaya Jaya Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Jayate Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Radhe Gokula Tarani Mandala Mahite Gokula Tarani Mandala Mahite Gokula Tarani Mandala Mahite Gokula Tarani Mandala Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Dayate Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Dayate Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Dayate Radhe Jaya Madhava Dayate Damodara Rati Vardhana Veshe Hari Nishkuta Brinda Vipineshe 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 Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Dayate Radhe Jaya Madhava Dayate Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Dayate Radhe Jaya Madhava Dayate Rishabhanu Dadhi Navashashi Leke Lalita Sakti Guna Ramita Vishake Rishabhanu Dadhi Navashashi Leke Lalita Sakti Guna Ramita Vishake Rishabhanu Dadhi Navashashi Leke Lalita Sakti Guna Ramita Vishake Rishabhanu Dadhi Navashashi Leke Lalita Sakti Guna Ramita Vishake Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Dayate 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 Karunam Kurumai Karuna Bharate Lali Sanaka Sanatana Varnita Charite Karunam Kurumai Karuna Bharate Sanaka Sanatana Varnita Charite Karunam Kurumai Karuna Bharate Sanaka Sanatana Varnita Charite Karunam Kurumai Karuna Bharate Sanaka Sanatana Varnita Charite Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Dayate Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Dayate Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Dayate Radhe Jaya Madhava Dayate Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Shri Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Shri Radhe 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 Jai 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 Shri Radhe 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 Jai 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 Shri Radhe 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 Jai 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 Shri Radhe 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 Jai 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 Radhe Radhe, 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 Jai 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 Shri Radhe, 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 Jai Jai Radhe, 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 Jai 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 Shri Radhe, 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 Jai Jai Shri Radhe. Jaya Radha Golokananda Radha Golokananda Radhe Jaya Radha Golokananda Radha Kananda Radha Jaya Radha Golokananda Radha Golokananda Radhe Jaya Radha Golokananda Radha Golokananda Radha Jaya Giri Govardhan Giri Govardhan Giri Govardhan Jaya Giri Govardhan Jaya Giri Govardhan Giri Govardhan Jaya Giri Govardhan Jaya Giri Govardhan Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jai Shri Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Shri Radhe Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Hari Bol 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 Nitai Go Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Go Hari Bol Nitai Go Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Go Hari Bol Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya 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 Gurudev 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev Jaya Jaya Gurudev Gurudev Jaya 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 Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Shri Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Shri Radhe Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Shri Gaura ki jai, Shri Shri Radha Golokananda ki jai, Jai 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 Shri Radhe Sham. Oh, you broke it. Harinam Sankirtan on Sunday at Weaver Street Market, Haribo, 12 o'clock. O Radha, all glories unto you, all glories unto you. Beloved of Madhava, object of worship for all the young girls of Gokula, you dressed yourself in such a way as to increase Lord Damodar's love and attachment